Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a particularly interesting knife review / knife overview to show you guys. This is the Poikilo Salvator Midtech. We're going to talk all about what they mean by that word, Midtech, but let me tell you this. This is some next level stuff. Poikilo has proven through, I've got 13 of them here. This is S tier production quality with, in some cases, some hand elements. These guys are off the charts. They are amazing. Now, there's a couple of things I want to go over here, but Poikilo, if you have been on the fence about this company, in my experience, this is really about as precision as I have ever seen through any knife company. I've handled a lot of stuff. I've handled some of the best production knives on earth, in my opinion. And Poikilo is at least level with the best. In some cases, they do feel superior. These are awesome knives. They are ridiculously expensive, as you could imagine. The entry-level pricing for this stuff is very, very high. And obviously, to get something, that they label as mid-tech with some of these fancy finishes, yeah, you're going to pay for it, definitely. But if you'd like to know more about this knife, I will, of course, do this full review and give you my thoughts, some things to consider. Thanks so much to my friend of the channel who sent all of these in so that I could experience this brand. This is a knife that is available in some forms. I will link it down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and measure this knife. This is not a small knife, not at all. Gosh, is that not such a beautiful profile? This knife is proof that you can take an idea like simplicity, aesthetic simplicity, and still give it character. There's definitely simple boring and simple interesting, and I'm going to put this in the category of simple interesting. We'll look closer at it here in a second. Overall length of this guy, 8.75 inches with a 3.85 inch blade. These are part of the reason this is so aesthetically pleasing is because it has those Shirogorov ratios, right? 8.75 overall, 3.85 blade. That's the magic number, isn't it? It's not quite 8.75, by the way. I'm going to say this is 8.65 with a 3.85 inch blade, even better, and 3.85 inches of cutting edge. Beautiful ratios. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. Up against the 8010 and my own Excalibur. This is not a small knife. This is a fairly large knife, I would say. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2, which is for some reason absent today. Nope, there it isn't. There it is. There it isn't. The Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3, obviously bigger than both and way more cutting edge than even the PM2. And then finally up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue, and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this knife? That is definitely a point to consider. Whew. These are amazing. Guys, these are so good. There are varying levels of good action. Anywhere from, yeah, that works, to, oh my goodness, like impossible. Like what laws of physics have been broken to accomplish this, right? This is that buttered glass. This is what I describe as, olive oil between two pieces of glass. That's what it feels like. It would be impossible to tell the position of the blade if the lock is disengaged. If you have your eyes closed and you're just feeling for movement, you wouldn't be able to tell where the blade was. It's like phantom action. It's like ghost plasma. Whatever they lubricated the pivot, I have no idea. But the bearings and the surfaces on the inside, it is really something special. I've experienced so many different levels of good action, and this is controlled, but still leaning on the quicker side if you don't get your fingers out of the way. but it's so buttery smooth. The thumb stud is pretty good. I think I would like a little bit more of a dome and some steps, right? Because there's kind of a ledge here. It's not sharp, but it's like very, very slight. Initial, like I'm feeling a ledge there. But then afterwards, my senses are immediately taken over by the shock of how smooth. That blade is so heavy. The D10 is tuned so well here. Oh, man. It's so good. That blade flies out into the open position. Sometimes I get off of it there. But also you can do, if you get it just right, you can get your, you can do the reverse flick. So thumb studs, I wish they were a little bit of a different shape, but not a deal breaker at all in my opinion. Maybe some slightly more access underneath here. But the pivot action itself is absolutely phenomenal. And man, access to the lock bar looks super angular. It's actually really comfortable and there's plenty of room. No double clutch, obviously, and very, very smooth down into the closed position. They definitely, these are knife people making these. They are definitely showcasing that they can, contend with the best of the best in the production knife world in terms of action and a number of other categories, but they definitely want you to notice. Somebody took a lot of extra time to make sure that the pivot smoothness on this thing was just unfathomably smooth. It's just crazy. So very good. The action's very, very good. Let's do carry profile thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It is slightly thicker, a little bit. It's also a big knife. There's a lot of titanium here. So you are going to notice that for sure. So up against the PM2 and Para 3. So this knife is a big knife that's fairly heavy that doesn't carry that huge in terms of like the total amount of space in your pocket. I know, like I'm aware, I'm like, I have a full-size knife in my pocket for sure. It's got some bulky materials, but it's not to the point where it's so cumbersome that I wouldn't carry it. Not by a long shot. You're going to be most comfortable in jeans or work pants, cargo pants, things like that. If you wear athletic shorts, or fitted pants, like dress pants, obviously it's not going to be ideal. You're going to notice it a lot more. So materials, what are we looking at here before we weigh it? Oh boy. So we have DLC titanium. We have stacked zircotite. This is actually zircotite, which is the same thing as black Timascus or zirconium Timascus, but zircotite is like the official, this is the on-brand name, right? But they've stacked it. So it's not like the random pattern welding. It's just like blocks of perfectly even material, your different titanium compositions, and then your zirconium layers, and they just stack it. This is the first time I've ever seen zircotite like this. It's really interesting. And then the pocket clip is zircotite, but in the more traditional kind of random pattern welding. It's also matte. It's not polished, which I gotta say, as much as I love the polished Timascus, and I still do, right? It's kind of refreshing to see it not polished. And I think it does a good job of not taking away from the exceptional blade. The blade is, you can see there the issue with the thumb stud there. Once you figure it out, you'll be good, but I slip off of it every now and then. This blade, hello, face reveal. Oh my gosh. Now, you're not going to get this finish with the standard version. You're going to get something they call pearlescent stonewash, which I have to assume is like a glass blasting or some sort of media blasting. It probably looks really, really nice. It's probably very smooth, right? I don't think they're going to be lazy with their finishes. This is a hand polished blade with a DLC coating on top of. So it's like stonewashed. They explained it to me. I actually talked with them about this directly on Instagram because I said, explain what you mean by Midtech. So it's stonewashed and then they hand polish it and then they apply the DLC finish. So this is very, very close to a perfect mirror. It just has some tumbling in there. This is exceptional. We have a perfectly even exposed. So anything that looks like a blemish on this is literally just me. It's either me accidentally spitting on it or me touching it. These areas that are not polished, like the flat, and then you have a compound Tanto blade. They're both flat grinds, but this is like a thicker flat grind that comes off of that flat there. It ends, and then this part of the grind goes up into the swedge. Why? Just to look cool. It's still plenty functional, right? And you don't have to treat this area any different when you're resharpening it, and that you just have this change up here. It's kind of, I'm not sure if we want to call it a Japanese Tanto or an American Tanto. I mean, they've almost perfectly hybridized it. It's just hard for me to focus on one element because this finish is just absurd. It is absurd. It's crazy. So there's a lot. I mean, like, there are elements here. You're going to look at the price tag and go, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money for a knife. Yes, there are a lot of elements here that do make it special, right? We are definitely in that that territory where Custom Knife Factory prices their stuff. Like, it's actually not quite there. I've got the Sakosha over here with a black mirror finish on the blade, M398, and it's got Zircotai inlays. Beautiful knife. I think they charge too much money for it. This isn't quite as expensive, and it's. I got to say, I think that it's all the way around. I mean, aesthetics aside, because that's subjective, I think the overall execution on these Poikilos is better. This blade is just... obviously, I'm having trouble describing how I feel about it. This is incredible. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. So anyways, titanium, Zircotai, and M398. We'll talk more about their M398 here in a second, but let's weigh it. Now, in order to weigh things, you need a scale. And in order to be a good knife reviewer, you would have your scale ready to go and know where it is at all times. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't know where anything is. The weight on this guy coming in at 5.2 ounces, which is not unexpected at all. It's a pretty big knife, a lot of titanium, fairly thick blade stock. Where is the balance at on this guy? It's actually going to be pretty much right behind the pivot. Beautiful. Lending to the fact that it does not feel nearly as large as it truly is. So that's nice. Now, let's measure that blade stock thickness, and then we'll do the hardware check, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do the meat and potatoes here. So I bet this is about 150 thousandths. It looks fairly thick. Yeah, it's actually more, 157 thousandths. So it's a fairly thick blade for sure. And then hardware check, I'm going to get out my tools. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. Today I'm using a long guy because I don't know where my stubby one went. It like fell off the table and disappeared. Whether you want this one or you want the stubby one, you know, it's up to you. The stubby one's the one I recommend, but this one's also totally fine. So your pivot is actually going to be bigger than a T8. I think all the body screws are T8, which you'll notice nothing visible over here. That's really cool. So we have this one here, which is going to go through, thread through to the other side, and then you have the pivot. But it's a big part of this design is there's no visible hardware on the show side. Very cool. So your pivot, just to be sure. Oh, it might be. No way, it's a T15. It's not T15, I'm sorry. I was thinking maybe there's a chance. Where I didn't put these back in the right order. Your pivot is a T10. Very nice, Poikilo. T10 pivot, T8 hardware. People love you for that. They're expensive knives. They want to get inside them, right? There's hardly any hardware. The heads, you know, are deep. They're large fasteners. People love that. Very, very awesome. Very easy to take apart and put back together. This is a titanium frame lock running on bearings. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. But this is like basic, like anybody can disassemble this, which is a huge benefit, right? Doesn't need to be more complicated as it gets more expensive. Okay, so let's move on into the meat and potatoes. I love this profile, and it's not the first time I've seen knives that kind of have this long, straight, futuristic, maybe something that Master Chief would carry, you know, as a pocket knife. Just this futuristic look. I've seen other knives that are similar, but I think Poikilo has done the best job of matching like the balance of the matte areas to the reflective areas and lining up all of these little bevels to create this really cool, high contrasting geometric blade. Like it's such a cool thing that these two flat grinds, right? And these aren't, you're not gaining any specific utilitarian advantage. Sorry, I'm wiping fingerprints off. It's just freaking cool, man. If you're the guy who's carrying this around in your pocket, I mean, gotta be brave. It's an expensive knife. You're gonna impress anybody. It doesn't matter if they understand what they're looking at or not. This is the type of knife that will impress anybody. Is it sharp? Well, yeah, of course it is. The initial edge is definitely thicker than the second edge, right? But it will slice and cut. They definitely are not sitting around thinking, gosh, how do we make a utilitarian blade? No, these guys can make, you know, whatever your definition of like the most utilitarian blade geometry is, they can very easily do it. They're clearly trying to make knives that are functional, but are absolutely stunning and superior in terms of production quality to the vast majority of their competition, if not all of their competition at this price point. And I think they are succeeding. One of the errors that I made unboxing these is repeatedly referring to their logo as a frog. It is a chameleon. That's just me being stupid. I would prefer that Poikilo puts it, given that the show side is so aesthetic. It's pretty subtle and it's not huge. I would prefer that they put their logo on the other side, and if it has to be on this side, I'd prefer that it was smaller. But that's not really that big of a deal. I think they're doing a pretty good job. This is M398. What is M398? It's like M39s made by Bowler. It's like M390 with way higher edge retention and lower toughness. M390, if you did not know, is not a tough steel. Some people get this confused with edge retention, or they make it up in their head that M390 is tough. It is not. Toughness and edge retention are not the same thing, and M390 factually is not a tough steel. So when you heat treat this stuff appropriately, and yes, I know I'm saying M390, not M398, I'm building up to a point. When this stuff is heat treated appropriately, which it rarely is, it's actually kind of a pain in the butt to sharpen, and it also can be chippy, which is a problem during use and obviously during resharpening. Having to resharpen a blade that's been chipped, it sucks, right? M398 is all of that, but made much worse. The edge retention will definitely be off the charts and much higher than M390, but it is not as tough, making that a bigger problem in some cases. And also, it actually has a reduction in corrosion resistance. Not that big of a deal in this case for the corrosion resistance because it's still a stainless steel and it's obviously mostly coated, so it's fine. And if you cut things that knives are meant to cut, right? Like if you're not someone who pretends that their knife is a screwdriver or a pry bar, right? There's never any reason to force a pocket knife into that role. We have, if the argument is, well, it's a cheap throwaway knife, whatever. Well, you can buy, utility blades where the blades themselves are replaceable. And I would say that would save you money and be far more efficient in the long run. And as far as not being able to have every single tool on you at all times, that is an absolute nonsense argument. Multi-tools have existed for a very, very long time and don't hardly take up any more room in your pocket than a pocket knife. And they can also be had extremely cheap. There's simply no argument left for forcing your knife into those roles. It's just people wanting to do it and not wanting to be challenged over that mentality. So, but anyways, I digress. I can't remember the point that I was really getting at there. But if you use this as a knife and cut things that knives should cut, which are materials softer than the blade, and you don't pry with it and you don't screw with it, then you'll be totally fine, right? Now, my only real complaint about this knife, I asked Poikilo, what is the HRC range for your M398? And now, where M398 can be heat treated and it performs as intended is a pretty wide range. It's actually right around the same area as MagnaCut, 60 to 64. Now, on the lower end of that, 60 to 61, is it essentially performing just like M390? No. 60 to 61 M398 will still blow the doors off of M390. I mean, it's way ahead. But M398, it really shines. As a steel that does not benefit at all from the increased toughness of getting it lower, right? M398 can be pushed much higher. 62, 63, or upwards even 64. The edge retention is absolutely amazing. I believe, while there are benefits to either side of that teeter-totter, I believe that the people who are actually going to buy Poikilos, like if you have somebody, who's like, oh, I never buy knives over $50. Here's what I think about it. It's like, great, but you're not actually their target audience, right? So anybody can have an opinion on it, sure. But if you're not actually buying, the knives, then Poikilo is probably not going to seek to serve you. The people who are going to buy this stuff are people who are hyper entwined in the ins and outs of HRC ranges. It doesn't even matter if they plan to use it or directly benefit from that high HRC range on M398. Same mentality of somebody who plans to buy a race car and not race it, right? You just want the performance that you paid for and however you perceive that performance, right? How it's supposed to be. So M398 probably does not benefit from this specific blade shape or geometry in particular, right? But getting it up there into that range, into that super high range, where it can potentially shine the most. I think that the people who are buying your knives, Poikilo, that's the kind of stuff that they're going to care about. You have completed the package in every other aspect of this knife, and you are definitely delivering a product that is deserving of that price tag on this particular one, in my opinion. But I think you need to get that HRC range up higher. Again, I'm not saying that 60 to 61 HRC on M398 is bad. I'm saying it can be pushed higher, and I think that you would make your potential customers happier by pushing it up there into that higher range. That's just my opinion. But will it have exceptional edge retention? Like if you buy this knife and use it, oh my God, yeah, it's gonna do great, right? It's gonna be a pain in the butt to sharpen either way. The pivot, I do like the simplicity of the handle and pivot. In this case, I think that if you busy up this area, I usually don't say this. I usually say you should have an inlay in here or something, or texturing or something. I think that would actually pull away from the blade. As far as whether or not it should be contoured at this price, obviously contouring costs more money, and it can, benefit the end user in, ergonomic comfort. Again, though, aesthetically, I think it's was more about like complementing the blade. Right. So in this case, I'm willing to let that pass because I think I understand what they were doing here. They can clearly do it. They've got other contoured knives and Midtech stuff, but they're trying to achieve, accomplish something here. And where they balance that out, they did give you a hefty amount of Zircotai. That's a huge backspacer. Zircotai is not a cheap material. And that pocket clip also, it's a pretty big chunk there. There's quite a bit. They also DLC coated the titanium, which is cool. Really, really nice. Love the pivot. Love the subtle pivot color. I think they do sell some of these with some different colors. No pocket clip mounting position for lefties. Sorry, lefties. They just said no. One screw there for the clip, nested into the frame so it doesn't wiggle. In and out of the pocket. Pretty tight clip, but surprisingly, it does go in and out pretty okay. You have a lanyard slot back here, so if you want to attach a lanyard to it, great. You have an exposed titanium frame lock. Poikilo, I think you guys should do nested titanium liner locks that are, have the same surface contact as your frame locks. I think that just goes an extra step. Gives you an opportunity to make that area look really, really cool. And I think people who are buying these knives will appreciate that even more. But this is also fine. It's totally fine, right? The stop pin area back here is actually coated. The whole area that stops against that pin is DLC coated. You can actually see that little mark on top. It's just a surface mark on top of the DLC. No shouldering, but that's okay. I have to touch the blade for this part. There's no hint, not even a hint of movement in any direction. So no blade play up, down, left, or right. There is no lock stick. I should have waited. There's no pivot lash. Unbelievably smooth. We already covered that. And then the detent is absolutely fantastic. And of course, we have absolutely perfect centering. I need to handle the base version to really know. I mean, like, I have to imagine that the base version feels exactly the same. It doesn't have the DLC finish, and it doesn't have the Zircotai. So I think I have a little bit more of an issue with the base price of this knife versus the price of the Midtech. $630 is a lot of money for a pocket knife. I'm not going to pretend that I don't understand that. Obviously, this is a pocket knife, and it is a lot of money. The vast majority of people are not interested in paying $630 for a pocket knife. But you have to aggressively leave out all of the other details involved with this knife in order to have that argument seem totally sane, right? So if you're looking for a pocket knife, fortunately, There are a lot of them out there that don't cost that much. You will not be getting mirror polished M398 and a DLC titanium frame with a zirconium Damascus backspacer and pocket clip, and all executed the way that this knife is executed. You will not get that for a small amount of money. You will pay a lot of money for that, even if it's made in China. That's just the way that it is. You're welcome to search the internet. That's just how it's going to be, right? But these materials and these executions of things, they don't matter to everybody, right? Poikilo knows this, and they are absolutely trying to serve a very particular crowd of knife enthusiasts. I would definitely place myself within, that parameter of people that they're after. And I mean, congrats, you got my attention. Like, this is really cool. Would I pay $630 for this knife? That's what this Midtech version of it costs. Absolutely, I would. This is amazing. There are other Poikilo knives I don't like the look of nearly as much, but I'd pay that for this. I've paid way more for CKF's equivalent, right? I want you guys to get the HRC range up a little higher on these guys. I think 62, 63 would be awesome and give you some serious bragging rights. That's really going to help some people make these purchases. I'm okay with your 60, 61, would prefer it higher. You're going to turn some potential customers away hitting M398 that low. As far as the entry-level price for this, I don't think you're too far off. You guys are definitely bringing stuff to the table. Like at $350, for example, I think that would be a more fair price. It's $380, what they want for the base stonewash version. It's a little bit high, a little bit. Like We Knives periodically tries to jump into the $350 zone, and they bring stuff that's like, what? This isn't anything, but like it's no different than your stuff that's sub $300. You handle the Poikilo, and there's an immediate difference. It is still M398. That's a lot, right? Still going to have the absolutely exceptional pivot action. It's just going to feel overall like a superior product to a lot of that stuff. So I think it is justified at over $300. I don't know that it should be any higher than about $350, but they're close. You get that heat treatment up there, and that's really going to sell it to people because that's a crazier blade steel. We don't see that stuff nearly as often. You get the bragging rights, you get the potential for much higher edge retention, but you really need that higher HRC range to send it home. This is, either way, whatever you think of this is clearly not a knife that I would recommend to the average person. Not at all. This is a knife for extreme knife enthusiasts, and especially people who are so nitpicky about fit and finish and just wanting their knife to be so impossibly perfect, even beyond, the definition of perfect for the average person. Yeah, the Salvator is it's such a beautiful object. And the DLC on the blade is just it's the most dastardly looking. It is so wicked, man. It's so cool. I love this. At $630 for the extreme knife enthusiast who wants all the special, right? If you're okay with that HRC range being a little bit low. Yeah, go for it. Same with the base version. To the average person, oh my God, no. That's a lot of money for a pocket knife. Unless you're a crazy collector, like climb the ladder and find the spot in the ladder that works for you. Either way, while this will not be going on my most recommended knives playlist, I can't really do that in good faith. It is going to go in my favorite knives of all time playlist, which is reserved for knives that I just love personally, even if they don't fit the bill for everybody else. Yeah. The Salvator Midtech is easily one of my favorite knives that I have reviewed on this channel. I love it, man. I love it. I got to figure out how I can get one of these for myself because I have to send these back. So this is a knife that I would gladly pay for and own. I would be proud to have it in my collection. That's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.